urea cycle disorder, types, and the enzyme deficiency. Okay. Next is symptoms of hyperammonemia, and lastly treatment or management part of hyperammonemia. Okay. So we all know that urea cycle is the best method for removal of nitrogenous excretory products from our body. About 80 to 90% of nitrogenous excretion is excreted by the form of urea. Okay. And if there is any hamper of urea cycle, it will lead to accumulation of which compound? Ammonia, because the main aim of this cycle of urea cycle is removal of toxic ammonia. Okay, so any kind of blockage in urea cycle pathway will lead to accumulation of ammonia, and that will be toxic for our body. And that condition where the ammonia concentration is increased in our blood is known as hyperammonemia. Okay, anything with the suffix amia is increased concentration in blood, so it is specifically written as hyperammonemia, that is increased concentration of ammonia in blood. Okay, so this can be of two types. We will discuss the various types of urea cycle disorders, but the gross situation that is occurring from urea cycle defect is hyperammonemia, and that can be of two types. One is inherited and other is acquired. So in the inherited hyperammonemia, it is a enzyme deficiency due to genetic defects. Okay, so there are defective genes which may not produce proper enzymes of urea cycle, that will lead to hyperammonemia. Okay, and it is specifically seen in neonates and infants. Neonates mane jara within 1 month and infants mane within 1 year. So within 1 year of age, this inherited hyperammonemia will be detected. But in case of acquired hyperammonemia, that is not the case. There is mainly in case of liver diseases where the hepatic cells are injured or diseased. So there may be, the process may be hampered. Okay. So if the hepatic cells are diseased, the process will not take place properly in the liver cells. So that is seen in adults. Okay. And in case of various hepatic diseases, acute cases or chronic cases, we may see hyperammonemia, that is acquired type. Okay, clear? This is clear. So now proceeding to the urea cycle disorder. It is a single picture depicting all the disorders related to urea cycle. Okay, so urea cycle is written over here. All the steps, major 5 steps are written, and if there is any blockage or any deficiency of the specific enzyme for that step, there will be the disorder. So how many disorders are here? How many? 7, right? 5 for each step, 1 for each step and 2 extra. What are the extra 2? Here, where the ornithine was transported inside mitochondria by the help of ornithine transporter protein. If that is defective or deficient, is absent, it will cause hyperornithemia, or this syndrome is known as Triple H syndrome. And the other one, 7th one, is N-acetyl glutamate synthase deficiency. Other than the 5-step related enzyme deficiencies, there are 2 extra diseases. One for the ornithine transporter protein defect or deficiency, and another for N-acetyl glutamate synthase deficiency. Is it clear? Now we will see each step one by one. So urea cycle disorder type 1 hyperammonemia is caused by the absence or deficiency of step 1 enzyme, and that is carbamoyl phosphate synthetase. Synthetase 1, right? Synthetase 2 is used in pyrimidine synthesis. Very good. Now coming to type 2. Type 2 hyperammonemia for the step 2 blockage. Step 2 enzyme is ornithine transcarbamylase. So here the disease is hyperammonemia type 2. See one thing, in these two steps, if these two steps are hampered, what happens? The amount of ammonium ion concentration will increase. It is a direct hyperammonemia. Here, in case of hyperammonemia type 2, ornithine transcarbamylase will not be present. So, carbamoyl phosphate can be produced. Taito? But in case of hyperammonemia type 1, only the concentration of ammonium ion will increase. Now type 3, step 3, that is the absence or deficiency of argininosuccinate synthetase enzyme, and it will cause to accumulation of citrulline. Deficiency of any enzyme will lead to accumulation of the product of its previous reaction, or its substrate compound. So here in case of step 1, hyperammonemia type 1, ammonium ions will be increased. In case of hyperammonemia type 2, carbamoyl phosphate will increase. Okay. In case of citrullinemia, citrulline will increase in blood. Citrullinemia means increased concentration of citrulline in blood. Next, for the fourth step, or the enzyme argininosuccinase deficiency, there will be increased argininosuccinate in our blood, and it will lead to the excretion of argininosuccinate itself in our urine. That's why the disease is argininosuccinic aciduria. Anything 8 like fumarate, succinate, all these are acids. So, argininosuccinate or argininosuccinic acid will be excreted in our urine. That is why this disease is known as argininosuccinic aciduria. Okay, clear? Next, the final step related disease is hyperargininemia. Here the spelling mistake is there. It is argininemia. Okay. So, in the deficiency of arginase enzyme. Okay. So, the enzyme related steps are all these will cause all these disorders. Now, tell me one thing, in all these 5 disorders, which one will be the milder? The milder form of disease will be the 5, because the ammonium ion can be channelized in all these products up to arginine. Taito, if there is deficiency of arginase, only ornithine cannot be produced, or the proper urea cannot be formed, but it can be excreted in the form of citrulline or argininosuccinate etc. by urine. So, in case of all these steps, enzyme deficiency, there is no chance of forming any intermediate compound, or no trapping of ammonia is there. But in case of the last, or the hyperargininemia disorder, the disease is milder. Is it clear? Now, for N-acetyl glutamate synthase, the deficiency, it is the name as the enzyme deficiency itself. And last, that is the defect of ornithine transporter protein will lead to increased concentration of ornithine in blood. Right? And HHH syndrome is for H for hyperornithemia, H for hyperammonemia, and another H for homocitrullinemia. Okay. So, we will discuss that later. Now, coming to the characteristics or the symptoms of urea cycle disorder. So, it is a triad of hyperammonemia that will cause to encephalopathy of brain, and encephalopathy will further result in respiratory alkalosis. Okay. So, তোদের কি অ্যাসিড বেস ব্যালেন্স পড়ানো হয়েছে? হয়নি তো? তো অ্যালকালোসিস, অ্যাসিডোসিস এখনো অবধি তোদের পড়ানো হয়নি। Okay, so alkalosis is, for a general knowledge, our blood pH is 7.35 to 7.45. Absolute is 7.4, but the range is 7.35 to 7.45. And if it goes beyond 7.45, it is alkalosis. In the pH scale, below 7 is acid, above 7 is alkali. So if the range goes beyond 7.45, it is alkalosis, and if it comes down 7.35, it is acidosis. So jokhon porano hobe details, we will learn the individual parameters and how to calculate whether it is respiratory or whether it is metabolic, whether it is alkalosis or acidosis. But for primary knowledge, like the pH is more than 7.45, that is alkalosis, and it is less than 7.35, it is acidosis. And there are two parameters, okay, one metabolic component, one respiratory component. So metabolic component is bicarbonate ion. Bicarbonate is responsible for the alkaline part. I told you even yesterday also, bicarbonate is responsible for the alkaline part of the acid base balance, or the basic part, and the CO2 or carbon dioxide concentration, partial pressure of carbon dioxide, PCO2, is related to the acidic part of our blood. So whenever there is the question given, their values are given for related to bicarbonate concentration and PCO2 of the patient. So from that you can decide whether it is metabolic or whether it is respiratory. Okay, so now other symptoms like these, this is the triad of hyperammonemia, encephalopathy and respiratory alkalosis seen in urea cycle, and the symptoms or the manifestations of the patient will be something like the gastrointestinal symptoms or GI symptoms: vomiting, food avoidance, diarrhea and nausea. Okay, so nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, this is very easy, and another thing is anorexia or food avoidance, like not wanting to eat, okay, or aversion from eating, mainly protein foods. And neurological symptoms, I already told, seizures, lethargy, altered mental sensorium and irritability. These are neurological symptoms. So for encephalopathy, there will be neurological symptom. For alkalosis, there will be GI symptoms. Clear? And for a quick recap, why ammonia is toxic? Ammonia toxicity mechanism. Why ammonia is toxic? 4 mechanisms. First of all, decreased alpha ketoglutarate leads to depression of TCA cycle, and less ATP will be generated, and that will lead to overall less energy production. So alpha ketoglutarate with excess ammonia will bind and will form glutamate, and glutamate will again bind with ammonia and will form glutamine. Right? So consumption of alpha ketoglutarate. Second, for the glutamine, it shows osmotic effect, and it helps in accumulation of water in brain, thus causing edema. And fourth, that is the glutamate. Glutamate is getting converted into glutamine, so the concentration of glutamate is decreasing, thus decreased GABA. GABA is a component of decarboxylation of glutamate. Glutamate amino acid, if decarboxylated, will produce GABA. GABA is gamma aminobutyric acid. Okay, so it is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. Inhibitory neurotransmitter for respiratory centers. So if the GABA concentration is decreased, so the inhibitory control is lost. So because of the inhibitory control, our respiration has a rhythm and the pace is maintained. If the inhibition is lost because of decreased GABA, so that will lead to hyperventilation or rapid respiration, okay, or that is also known as tachypnea. Loss of inhibition of respiratory center will lead to rapid breathing or hyperventilation or tachypnea, and that will lead to CO2 washout. Okay, CO2 washout. If in case of hyperventilation, what happens? CO2 is excessively washed out and loss of CO2, that is PCO2 is decreasing. If PCO2 is decreasing, the acid component is decreasing. I told you acid component was PCO2 in acid-base balance. So, if PCO2 is decreasing, the acid part is decreasing and body's base like simultaneously increases, taito. It not increases, the base not increases, but the balance is disrupted. Acid is decreasing. So, it is causing an alkalosis and the cause is respiratory. That's why it is respiratory alkalosis. Clear? Clear to everyone why the urea cycle disorder cause respiratory alkalosis? Because of the loss of inhibition due to decreased GABA, there is hyperventilation or tachypnea that will lead to CO2 washout, and CO2 washout always lead to respiratory alkalosis. Okay. And the last, that is hyperammonemia, will lead to increased permeability of neuronal membranes, leading to the loss of potassium and chloride ions. Okay. So, this will lead in neurological manifestation in bizarre behaviors. Okay. Now, individual disorder. So, we know hyperammonemia type 1 is because of deficiency of enzyme carbamoyl phosphate synthetase 1, and the few points, that is, it is very rare. Okay. This type of urea cycle disorder is rare and it is autosomal recessive kind of disease. Autosomal recessive, all the urea cycle disorders are autosomal recessive except type 2 hyperammonemia, or the deficiency of ornithine transcarbamylase deficiency is X-linked recessive. All other are autosomal recessive. So, in this type of hyperammonemia, what happens? The ammonium level is severely increased or severe hyperammonemia is seen, and in that case mental retardation is inevitable. Okay. And this is detected very early in life, like within 1 to 2 days of birth this will be detected. Now see, N-acetyl glutamate synthase deficiency will also result in the same clinical features, because both are hampering the step 1. Both the enzyme deficiency hampers the step 1 carbamoyl phosphate synthetase 1 and N-acetyl glutamate synthase deficiency. But in this case, if we administer N-acetyl glutamate from outside, the reaction will proceed. The deficiency of this enzyme will be surpassed or bypassed by external administration of NAG. Clear? So, how to differentiate between these two, hyperammonemia type 1 and N-acetyl glutamate synthase deficiency, by providing external NAG. Type 2 is because of the deficiency of enzyme ornithine transcarbamylase. And that was, if that is absent or that is deficient, so there will be no citrulline formation. No citrulline formation will be there, and I told you this is an X-linked recessive disorder. X-linked recessive disorder, and this is the most common UCD. Okay, most common urea cycle disorder is hyperammonemia type 2. In this, their hyperammonemia in the child is also seen, and in case of mothers of affected child, they also show hyperammonemia and aversion to protein food. Okay. So, mother may not be affected, but there is the symptoms in the mother also. And in here, increased glutamine level in blood, CSF and urine. Increased glutamine level will be in type 1 hyperammonemia also, because the excessive ammonium ion will bind to glutamate in blood and will form glutamine. So, in case of these first two disorders with hyperammonemia, glutamine will also increase in blood. Okay, and here what happens, the extra thing, that is orotic acid urea. What is orotic acid? Orotic acid is an intermediate of pyrimidine synthesis pathway, intermediate. Okay, so if carbamoyl phosphate cannot go in the urea cycle, it will come out in the cytosol and will take part in pyrimidine synthesis. Okay, so orotic acid is an intermediate of pyrimidine synthesis pathway, and absence of ornithine transcarbamoylase will lead to bypass of carbamoyl phosphate into pyrimidine pathway, pyrimidine synthesis pathway. Is it clear? So here in case of the type 2 hyperammonemia, orotic aciduria will be seen. Now what are the symptoms? Symptoms, as this is the most common type of urea cycle disorder, we must know the specific symptoms. So anorexia, irritability, disorientation, poor growth, all these are because of neurological symptom. Okay, tachypnea, hyperapnea, apnea, respiratory failure, all these are because of respiratory center inhibition, loss of respiratory center inhibition. Hypotonia, hypertonia, ataxia, tremor, seizures, these are also neurological manifestations. Okay. Now citrullinemia. So the enzyme defect here lies in the third step, and it is argininosuccinate synthetase. It is also autosomal recessive, and here we can say see citrulline, increased concentration of citrulline in blood, urine and CSF also. Okay. Now the fourth one, that is argininosuccinic aciduria because of the enzyme defect. Which enzyme defect? Argininosuccinase or argininosuccinate lyase, right? And here are the few points. Here hyperammonemia is less severe, I told you, because the more the cycle proceeds, it will form the intermediates and ammonia trapping will be there. So here the it is less severe, and in this case argininosuccinate is increased in blood, urine and CSF, leading to argininosuccinic aciduria. Now see, if this acid is increasing in blood, this is one kind of organic acid. So this organic acid is increasing in blood, and this may cause to metabolic acidosis. Okay. So don't confuse, there was respiratory alkalosis, but this can lead to metabolic acidosis because here the amount of organic acid is getting increased in blood and it is also excreted in our urine. Here typical feature is seen, that is friable tufted hair known as Trichorexis nodosa. That is nothing fancy, it is a term for damaged hair. Okay, damaged hair, broken hair, and here for treatment we can give arginine, because the production of arginine is hampered in this step. If this enzyme is deficient, arginine production is hampered, but if we supply arginine from outside, this urea production will go on. Okay, and ornithine production will be okay, like ornithine is required for trapping of the ammonia. So that the cycle runs, we can provide from outside. Okay, arginine, we can provide arginine from outside. This is Trichorexis nodosa. Can you see the white dots in here? This seems like a damaged hair. And here is the microscopic point of this broken part. This is called as Trichorexis nodosa. In your NEET PG exam, like such images are also given, and they may ask in which enzyme deficiency or in which disorder, metabolic disorder this may seen. Okay. Okay. Now for the last step, it is hyperargininemia, and It is because of absence of this enzyme arginase. This is a mild case of UCD. It appears by the age of 2 to 4 years. Okay. Bakigulo ki hochilo? Bakigulo within a year we will detect, we can detect. But mane jegulo khub serious, step 1, step 2, egulo to within days we can detect, but the others also can be detected from 6 months to 1 year. But this hyperargininemia or the arginase deficiency can be detected by up to 2 to 4 years. Okay. And here the arginine concentration will be increased in blood, leading to hyperargininemia. Now the hyperornithemia or HHH syndrome. So 3 H's are for hyperornithemia, hyperammonemia and homocitrullinemia. Upper two, these two are very easy to understand, hyperammonemia and hyperornithemia. But homocitrullinemia, how it occurs? If ornithine transporter is defective, ornithine cannot go into mitochondria, right? So the carbamoyl group from carbamoyl phosphate cannot be transferred to ornithine, but it will be transferred to lysine. So lysine will take the carbamoyl group from carbamoyl phosphate and it will form homocitrulline. So if ornithine takes carbamoyl, then it will form citrulline. If lysine is getting the carbamoyl group, it will form homocitrulline. Okay, and this is because of mutation in ornithine transporter 1 gene, ORNT1 gene. Okay, ORNT1 gene mutation will lead to defect or absence of the transporter protein, and that will lead to hyperornithinemia. Clear? Now our inherited hyperammonemias are over. We will proceed to acquired hyperammonemia. In case of acquired hyperammonemia, I told you there must be some kind of liver damage or liver disease. So in case the causes can be acute viral hepatitis, ischemia of liver or hepatotoxins, presence of hepatotoxins, chronic liver damage because of alcoholism or kind of hepatic viral hepatitis like B or C. Okay. So the causes are obviously related to liver damage, and it can be acute, can be chronic. So the acquired hyperammonemia, this situation can occur acutely, sudden onset in adults, and also in case of a chronic disease. Okay. So the acute causes can be metabolic dysfunction of hepatocytes in case of acute viral hepatitis, where the enzymes are deranged. So acute viral hepatitis, there will be metabolic dysfunction of hepatocytes where the urea cycle is depressed. So ammonia concentration will rise. In case of chronic cases, what happens? The hepatocytes are shrunken. The all over liver is shrunken or inactive. All the hepatocytes lost their ability to normal function. So the portal vein which was carrying the main blood to liver, it will be shunted. Portal circulation will be shunted to systemic circulation. So the chance of detoxifying ammonia is lost in chronic cases. So that's why ammonia detoxification is severely impaired and it is leading to hyperammonemia. Achha, these are the laboratory tests we may perform to detect any kind of urea cycle disorder. So in our biochemistry lab, we may do the serum ammonia electrolyte, pH, blood urea nitrogen, specific amino acid concentration, urine organic acid concentration such as orotic acid or argininosuccinic acid, okay, and lactic acid to determine whether there is any acidosis or alkalosis because of these. And DNA testing for particular genetic defect we can perform, or we can look for any particular kind of gene mutation. And for neonatal blood by mass spectrometry we can see whether there is any protein deficiency or abnormal protein is there, or whether the products they are getting separated. Okay. Now how to come to a final diagnosis in case of hyperammonemia in a neonate. Okay, if the symptom arises between 24 to 72 hours after birth, we will look for any kind of acidosis or ketosis. Okay, so other than these, there are various other inborn errors of child. Okay, so determine whether it is because of hyperammonemia, there must be increased ammonia concentration. Along with that, we will look for whether there is any acidosis, like any lactic acidosis or any other acidosis or ketosis is there. So we will suspect. So if there is no acidosis, we will suspect UCD and we will assay the blood for citrulline. Okay, on the basis of citrulline concentration, it is divided into three different parts. If the citrulline concentration is very high, that is direct for citrullinemia. Very high, it is more than 1000 micromole. Okay, so it will directly relate to citrullinemia. Now if it is absent, if the citrulline is absent, so citrulline was the product of which step? Second step. So if citrulline is absent, that means the defect is in the previous two steps, either in step 1 or step 2. Okay, now that is further derived by the presence of urine orotic acid. If orotic acid is present, it will be type 2 because carbamoyl phosphate is getting produced and it is bypassed to pyrimidine synthesis pathway. So if the orotic acid concentration is high, it is definitely hyperammonemia type 2, and if orotic acid is not present or low, it is type 1. And if the citrulline concentration falls in between 100 to 300 micromole, we will go for argininosuccinate concentration in plasma, and if this is increased, so this leads to the diagnosis of argininosuccinic aciduria. Clear? And arginase deficiency, I told you, is the milder form of UCD. It can be detected much later in life, around 2 to 4 years. Clear? This diagram is, flowchart is clear to all. Now the management modalities. Okay, so we have learnt all the steps, enzyme defects, the clinical symptoms, more or less clinical symptoms of urea cycle disorder, and now we have to know the treatment modalities. Okay, so first of all we have to restrict the dietary protein. So if there is any urea cycle disorder, it will lead to accumulation of ammonia, hyperammonemia, and we have to prevent that. So we need to restrict the main source of ammonia. What is the source of ammonia or the nitrogen in our body? Proteins, amino acids. So we will restrict the dietary intake. Okay. Now, and secondly, lactulose. Use of lactulose. What is a lactulose? Lactulose is a laxative, laxative used in constipation. So it will help in clearing the gut quickly, and I told you that there are few bacteria which also produce ammonia in our gut. Okay, so the production of ammonia in our gut is reduced by rapid emptying of gut, and so the ammonia present in our gut will be excreted in feces in the form of ammonium ion. Now coming to addition or administration of arginine. If arginine is given, ornithine will be produced and ornithine will go into the mitochondria and it will trap the ammonia in form of carbamoyl group and it will be converted up to the step that is occurring. Okay, so partial ammonia trapping will be occurring by giving the arginine in diet. And also arginine is a positive activator of NAG synthesis. Okay, so last day I told you factors that have a positive feedback on NAG synthase enzyme, that are high protein diet, starvation and arginine. So if we provide arginine from outside, the first step is facilitated. Now the second treatment modality, that is benzoate components or phenyl acetate or phenyl butyrate. Okay, they help in binding with glycine and glutamine and formation of hippuric acid at phenyl acetyl glutamine is there. So this is another form of ammonia trapping. We have to reduce the ammonia toxicity. So if urea is not getting produced, so we have to trap the amino group of amino acids in other forms. So benzoate, phenyl acetate, phenyl butyrate, all these helps in forming of excretable components. Okay. Now for the summary, all the steps, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the product name of that step, defective enzymes and the disorder that is called, and the in this disorder the product that is accumulated, the type of inheritance of that disease, the only other than autosomal recessive, it is ornithine transcarbamylase deficiency or type 2 hyperammonemia. It is X-linked recessive. And what are the characteristic features? Here in argininosuccinate lyase deficiency, or in case of argininosuccinic aciduria, there is metabolic acidosis. It is easy to remember if you remember the name. It is aciduria, that means much acid is in the blood, and acid in blood is acidosis, and this is organic acid, that is metabolic acidosis, nothing related to respiration. But overall case of urea cycle disorder that cause respiratory alkalosis. Okay, severe forms they cause respiratory alkalosis. Clear? This chart is clear for all. And in case of citrullinemia, we find citrulline in CSF also. Now here is a case study. যে কিরকম লং কোয়েশ্চেন আসতে পারে, ঠিক আছে? দিস মে নট কাম, বাট এরকম ভাবে কোয়েশ্চেনস আর ফর্মড, ঠিক আছে? তাহলে কোয়েশ্চেনটা পড়া যাক, কেউ একজন পড়। এনিওয়ান প্লিজ রিড দ্য কোয়েশ্চেন লাউডলি। নো ভলান্টিয়ার ইন দিস ক্লাস? এনিওয়ান, তুই পড়, রিড দ্য কোয়েশ্চেন। Consanguineous, consanguineous মানে parents are related previously before marriage related parents. Okay, so in case of consanguineous parents, 4-month-old infant developed poor feeding, and parents didn't develop poor feeding, the baby developed poor feeding. Okay, and this is SO3. Okay, millimole per liter, and this is a case of the blood picture pH result is respiratory alkalosis picture. Okay, as this is not already taught to you, that's why I have written that it is respiratory alkalosis. Now the question is, what is your probable diagnosis? What is your probable diagnosis for this case? Read the question again. 4-month-old infant. 4-month-old infant, he developed poor feeding, hepatosplenomegaly, convulsion, tachypnea and coma. So the triad is present here along with blood investigation, that is increased level of ammonia and glutamine. So hyperammonemia is there, neurological feature of convulsion and coma is there, and respiratory feature it is tachypnea and the respiratory alkalosis, overall blood pH picture is respiratory alkalosis is there. So it is, no, don't go into type 2. Before going into type 2, this is a urea cycle disorder. এখন I am teaching the urea cycle disorder, that is why it is very easy for you, তাই না? কিন্তু একটা এক্সামে যখন দেবে where you learn hundreds of metabolic disorders, তার মধ্যে which one is this? This is urea cycle disorder. Why? Because there is hyperammonemia. How to approach a question? Okay. So in your exam, in your final exam, suppose this question has come and you have no idea je ki bolche re baba, but kichu to bolche, increased level of ammonia. In which cases we find increased level of ammonia? Urea cycle disorder. First thing from this question we will derive, it is a question from urea cycle disorder, ammonia and also glutamine. So it must be from the first two type of disorders, okay, where ammonia and glutamine both are increased. Next, there is respiratory alkalosis is there. So it confirms that it is a type of UCD. And other identifying point, that is orotate crystal. Orotate crystals or orotic aciduria, that is found in type 2 hyperammonemia. So our probable diagnosis, in case of probable diagnosis, we may write this seems to be a case of urea cycle disorder type 2 hyperammonemia. Okay. Now why ammonia is toxic to the brain? There are 4 mechanisms. Okay, I told you, and try to write by the points and try to remember by the points. Okay, random mone korte gele mone thakbe na, but if you start from the depletion of alpha ketoglutarate, that will lead to depressed TCA cycle, leading to decreased energy production. That is one mechanism. Decreased energy production will automatically cause suppression of motor system. Okay. Second is increased formation of glutamine, that will lead to edema of brain. So brain edema, otherwise glutamine is not toxic for our brain, but increased concentration cause edema. Okay. So brain function will be hampered. Third point of ammonia toxicity is decreased GABA, because glutamate is decreased, and glutamate is constantly combining with ammonia to form glutamine. That's why the concentration of glutamate is reduced. That's why the production of GABA is hampered, and production of GABA if hampered, it will lead to loss of inhibition of respiratory center. GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. Okay. So if GABA is not there, there will be no inhibition in case of respiration. So there will be rapid respiration. Okay. Hyperventilation, rapid breathing. And fourth is there is the permeability of the neuronal membrane is disrupted. That's why potassium and chlorides, they are diffused out of the cells, and that manifest the other neurological symptoms. Clear? These are the mechanisms of ammonia toxicity. So why ammonia is toxic to the brain? Clear? The reason behind respiratory alkalosis in the this patient, I already told you, the toxicity of ammonia will lead to decreased GABA, and that will lead to increased ventilation or hyperventilation. Hyperventilation will lead to CO2 washout. The terms are very important. Okay. In case of hyperventilation, there will be CO2 washout. CO2 washout will lead to decreased PCO2. Okay, random mone rakhle kintu hobe na, there all the points are linked. So there is hyperventilation that will lead to excess CO2 washout. So we need to maintain a CO2 reserve, okay, for the balance of our acid base system. But if the excess CO2 is washed out, so what happens? The acidic part is decreased, that will cause alkalosis, and the main cause is respiratory, so that is resulting in respiratory alkalosis. Is it clear? Okay. Now the last part, why orotic aciduria is present in this patient? Anyone? Ball? So here we can say this is one kind of urea cycle disorder where the orotic acids are present, and we can say that orotic acids or orotate crystals are formed from carbamoyl phosphate in pyrimidine synthesis pathway. So the step which was using the carbamoyl phosphate is hampered. That's why the excess amount of carbamoyl phosphate that is continuously getting produced, it is bypassed to another cycle, that is pyrimidine synthesis pathway, okay, and there orotic acid is formed. That's why we may find orotic acid in urine. Clear? Is this question clear? তাহলে এই রকম কোয়েশ্চেন এলে লিখতে পারবি তো, at least approach তো করতে পারবি? Okay. Now the MCQs. Which of the following is the most common UCD? Which one? Most common কোনটা বলেছি? Step 2. So which one is step 2? Which enzyme is step 2 enzyme? Ornithine transcarbamylase. What is the answer here? A. Okay, A. Second, most urea cycle disorders are autosomal recessive except remember that summary chart. Konta? OTC, step 2. Both the answers are same. Okay, deficiency of OTC in question 1 and OTC deficiency is the most common urea cycle, that is X-linked recessive, not autosomal. All other are autosomal recessive. Okay. Okay. Cause of HHH syndrome is? HHH syndrome is caused by? ঠিক করে বল। Ornithine transporter, HHH লেখাই আছে, hyperornithinemia, hyperammonemia and homocitrullinemia. This triad is seen in case of defective transporter, ornithine transporter. Right? The answer will be defect in ornithine transporter. Now, treatment options for urea cycle disorders include lactulose, arginine, phenyl butyrate, or all of the above. All of the above. ঠিক আছে, এখানে আরো কিছু থাকতে পারে যেটা এখানে দিয়ে দিল except. ঠিক আছে, question can be changed. আচ্ছা, last question. This is a bit tricky. Which of the following is true regarding urea cycle disorders? Which one is true regarding urea cycle disorder? Increased gluconeogenesis from amino acids will increase urea formation. So gluconeogenesis কোথায় হচ্ছিল? ইউরিয়া সাইকেলটা মনে কর, কালকে আমি যে সাইকেলটা পড়িয়েছি কোথায় হচ্ছে? From which byproduct? From fumarate. The byproduct fumarate in step 4. তাই তো? It was getting incorporated in mitochondria and it was transformed into malate and malate into oxaloacetate. That oxaloacetate can go into gluconeogenesis. So if this cycle is proceeding, so urea cycle is also proceeding. So to produce fumarate, we need to run the urea cycle. So this is true. Okay, this statement is true. Increased gluconeogenesis from amino acids will increase urea formation. This has nothing to do with disorders. This is a general statement. If oxaloacetate is getting formed from fumarate, we need to run the cycle. Okay, to run the cycle, the urea cycle is producing urea also. Clear? Next, phenyl butyrate is less effective than sodium benzoate in urea cycle disorders. So this is from treatment modality or from management. আমরা কি দেখেছি, benzoate uses glycine. Okay, যদি আমরা ওই পেজটায় ফিরে যাই, benzoate binds with glycine. Glycine এর কটা অ্যামাইনো গ্রুপ আছে? How many amino groups are there in glycine? একটাই. Glycine is the simplest amino acid. ঠিক আছে? Whereas glutamine, this can be phenyl acetate or phenyl butyrate. So glutamine has how many amino groups? Glutamate is amino acid যার অলরেডি একটা অ্যামাইনো গ্রুপ ছিল, তার সাথে আরেকটা অ্যামোনিয়া যোগ হয়ে কি তৈরি হয়? গ্লুটামিন তৈরি হয়। সো ইন গ্লুটামিন there are 2 amino groups. Okay, so in case of glutamine trapping, it is much more helpful. Glutamine trapping is much more helpful than glycine trapping. Is it clear? Because glutamine e দুটো amino groups আছে. Okay, if we can trap 2 amino groups at a time and we can excrete the product, it is more helpful than trapping single amino groups at a time. বোঝা গেছে? Clear? So in this case, this statement phenyl butyrate is less effective than sodium benzoate in urea cycle disorder is it true? Because phenyl butyrate was binding to glutamine. Phenyl butyrate was binding to glutamine and sodium benzoate was binding to glycine. So which one is more effective? Binding glutamine is more effective or binding glycine is more effective? Trapping more nitrogen is more effective or less nitrogen trapping is more effective? More nitrogen trapping. So more nitrogen trapping is occurring in case of glutamine trapping, glutamine reaction. So phenyl butyrate or phenyl acetate, these helps in binding with glutamine. So this is more effective, not less effective. So this is false. And urea cycle disorders show metabolic acidosis. Is this true? Metabolic acidosis, urea cycle disorders show metabolic acidosis. Is this true? This is also a tricky part. Okay, because in general urea cycle disorders show respiratory alkalosis. Only the aciduria parts, there will be metabolic acidosis. Okay, so we will not count this as true, because for our general conception there will be respiratory alkalosis. In case of detailed or individual disorders, we may find metabolic aciduria in 1 or 2 cases. Okay, mainly in argininosuccinic acid urea there will be metabolic acidosis. Other than that, all are respiratory alkalosis. So the answer here will be increase gluconeogenesis from amino acid, increase the urea formation is true. Only this is true. Okay.